59 minutes,
What?
bud.
Okay, we'll go ahead and get this meeting called to order. This is a meeting of the Floresville Economic Development. It's August the 25th. It is 5:01 p.m. My name is Ray Lambert. I'll call this meeting to order, establish a quorum. We have our city manager, Andy Jocelyn. We have a representative, Randy Brewitt. Representative Liana Martinez. We have our mayor, Sister Gonzalez, one of our council members, Ed Villar. Mr. Fred Gonzalez is joining us, as well as the Youth County News. We have David Del Bosque. We have Donald C. We have Roy Adrock. We have Cynthia Stern, Financial Director. And we have our attorney, Sylvia Rodriguez. What would you like to say, Mr. Burr, please?
Let us pray. Gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you today and ask you for guidance, and ask you for forgiveness, and ask you to help those that are most in need and that are sick. Lord, we are sinners, and we know that, so we ask you for forgiveness. We also ask you in your name, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to you, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Do we have any citizen comments?
Yes, I do.
Step up, Mr. Gonzalez.
I hope you guys have a long time and a lot of endurance.
We got till 5:59.
Mr. President, members, President Gonzalez, Floresville, very briefly, I just want to thank you for your support on the Northwest Park. Appreciate Ben's positive and encouraging words at the last council meeting. Thank you all.
Thank you. Any more citizens' comments? So we're going to do this. We also have been joined by Hannah Duty. We'll go with new business. Item A, CNA to approve the proposed fiscal year 2022-2023 budget. Do you have any citizens' comments? Very well, we'll move into the budget.
Just going to hand it over to Cindy real quick to just kind of start the process of how we got to this point.
If I may, is this the budget that was proposed at a previous meeting but not approved, just proposed?
Correct. It was just the budget workshop. Yes.
Workshop.
Yes.
It was a budget workshop.
Great.
So, and like today as well, I would consider this a workshop. There really
Right.
doesn't need to be approval, just everybody needs to be aware of what budget is being presented to the council.
Thank you.
So you're saying it doesn't need to be approved by the board as a whole to be presented to the council?
Not this board, correct. Council approves the budget.
Yeah, I don't know that we approve anything. We make a recommendation to the council. The council approves, disapproves. We don't have that right.
So earlier this week, I want to put on record, I got a phone call from the attorney. She got an outside source, and she didn't disclose on who that was from, but was calling about the way our budget was approved. And so we had brought it to the board on the 25th for approval. Cindy was at that meeting. It was tabled by Randy, seconded by David. From that, but it was to have a workshop. From there, the processes have changed the last 3 years from the time we've started in 2019 from previous directors. And Cindy at the time was stating that the budget didn't need to be approved, it needed to be just presented. So the previous board, which Hannah, Roy, and Donald weren't a part of, we had a workshop on the 31st. We all had it was approval, not approval, but it was I don't want to misspeak. So we had on the 31st was a consideration discussion. So a discussion of the budget, everybody went over. That's why we have the iPad stuff attached to bring to what y'all had requested. And so that was what was presented at that discussion and was presented to City Council. The other day, I will put it out there, that I may have misspoke. I may have said that the budget was approved when I should have probably said that as was presented to the council. So for some of that reasoning, I met with the president, Ray. Ray decided to call a special meeting and wanted to say, okay, let's put it out there. We're not hiding anything on this budget, new members. Let's look at it. And this is the budget that was presented to the council and to get approved so they can approve their city budget tonight at 6 o'clock. So,
And if I may just real quickly, he is correct in what he just stated. It was also my recommendation that we put it out there that the board be aware of the budget. I think since there are a lot of new members, that it's important that you will know what the budget is, what you're working with, so that you'll know what you have approved. Technically, he is correct. You do not have to approve it, but I think it's a good idea for you to submit your consensus or recommendation of approval, because this is the budget that you're being presented and that you will be working with for the next year. So that's why I thought it would be a good idea to also have a special
Yes.
meeting and put it on the agenda. Like I said, it's important that new members be made aware of the budget. And I know that this was a workshop that was held back in May, and some of you new members were not part of this board. So it's very, very important you work as one, and this is your budget for the next year. So I thought it would be a really, really good idea for you to go ahead and be aware of it, and then have your consensus or have your recommendation. And it is set for consideration and action on your agenda. And I also think that previous boards have, before they possibly have approved the budget and then presented it to the council for further approval. Just like a resolution. You approve something, you send it up and ask the council to approve your actions.
Madam Attorney, if I may, this was discussed in May. Now, after May, we had evaluations from Mr. Reed, the director, evaluations for the assistant to Ben, Ms. Jimenez. And at that time, we had a discussion of a 10% increase. And a lot of things have happened since we were in that budget workshop. For one, the evaluation, which was not recorded by Wilson County News, I understand that they ran out of battery. Be that as it may, but the evaluation was not given complete consideration. It was kind of bypassed. And so a lot of things have happened since then, not only with the staff and the board members, but with our economy. If you consider that the city of San Antonio is only given, including the cost of living adjustment, a total of about 7% to their employees, and their peace officers are getting a total of 3.5%, their firefighters 2.5%, and we are, that's including the cost of living adjustment. And we are proposing that we increase the budget for salaries for 10%. That is something that possibly needs to be reconsidered. Another issue is, I don't know if y'all have been keeping up with the news of our economy. I've got an article right here from Forbes magazine that says 51% of U.S. companies in a new survey are planning layoffs or reductions in force. We've got an ugly piece of our economy that's coming that we're really not preparing for by allowing these types of adjustments. That's not only layoffs and reduction in force, that is rescinding job offers, that is rescinding bonuses. And what we're talking about, hiring freezes, we're not talking about small companies. We're talking about Apple, Microsoft, Best Buy. We are talking about Tesla, Netflix, HBO. The most surprising is Walmart. If that doesn't tell us something about the economy, we're kind of in a fog thinking that we've had a year-over-year increase of 15% in the amount collected. That's correct. But if you'll recall, we also have had about a 10% inflationary rate. So really what we've collected adjusted to inflation is not 15%. So given that, I don't think that it's justifiable to allow for a 10% increase in salaries. And that's the very first item on the budget. And of course, that's my opinion, but we are a board and would consider everyone else's opinion as well.
Can I answer that?
So the 10% is not something that is promised to the employees or that is saying. I did a 10% across all employees of the city just because following suit of what was last year. Last year was approved a 5% cost of living, a 3% merit increase, and then they also gave $1,000, which was actually $1,255 to every full-time employee. That amount was about roughly 8%. So this year, it has to have approval on the city side by the council. It's not, oh, there's 10% and they're going to get 10%. It's not that. It's controlled by the board. I put 10% there because if it's not there, it's going to go somewhere else. And then if you come back mid-year saying, we want to give this increase or we want to follow suit of what the city's doing because we actually haven't had the impact that we thought we were going to have, you will have to see if there is additional revenue or move it from another project to be able to follow suit of the city.
Thank you. And we did already have a 5% cost of living adjustment within the last 90 days.
In June.
In
Yes.
June. So we're talking about, our fiscal year is about to end. We're going to be looking at other adjustments. And are you saying that the city's considering another?
For what was recommended to our by the council was at mid-year, see where we are revenue-wise to see if actually, the impact of this recession that we are anticipating, what impact it has had on our revenues, our sales tax. At that time, they would decide, do we want to give a 3%, 2%, nothing. We can't at this time. We can't do anything. So it is a mid-year where we're looking to do that. Also, I don't know how, for a merit increase, I don't know if, at bids, when y'all do his evaluations, at that time, can y'all say, oh, we want to go ahead and give him this percentage? Or is it just once a year? I don't know what his contract is or how it reads.
If I may add, Cynthia is correct in regards to how she budgeted that percentage into salaries. We are moving cautiously this year. As presented to the city council, our regular employees will not receive a merit increase at the beginning of October 1. The police officers, according to their contract, will receive 3% as agreed upon. And then we'll move forward. What I presented to the city council was that at mid-year we would review to see where our revenues versus expenditures were at that time, and then that would be something that we would take back to the city council for approval. We would decide to move any kind of increase at that point in time. So it's just us working the numbers in there like we did this past year. It doesn't guarantee it, and we've stipulated that no increases will be given unless approved by the board or the city council.
And you mentioned that the previous board approved this, they still 10%. But they went along with the budget of 10% increase. Is this increase is for 2023, 22 to 23?
Yes, sir.
You don't include anything prior?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, this is just like we said, it's budgeted in there. Just like our budgets are working budgets, we have to reevaluate them monthly as we go forward and then adjust as we need to. But at the beginning, this is what we're starting with.
So now, as a new member, it rests on my shoulder to accept or deny the decision was made by a previous board.
But we have an opportunity now.
Yeah, that's correct.
That's why we're here today.
It's on the agenda for you to look at the budget, and if you don't like it, then you disapprove it. We are presenting tonight the budget in its entirety to the city council like we've done. It's the same city council on my end that started the budget process that will end it, and we've been forward with everything that we've put in this budget.
Right. I find myself in a difficult position now because I was not here to see what happened, even so I was a member before, but mid-year due to illness, I had to leave, which I didn't expect to be back on the board, but then.
We're so glad you did.
So maybe I gotta come up with something to midterm, so maybe the board agreed, we just make it 8%, 8.5%, and resolve this issue.
And we need to find where you want to put that at 2% of the budget.
Roy, just because you collect a budget for 10% doesn't mean you have to use the money.
No,
The money's appropriated, because if you only go 8 and something changes, the economy changes, the world changes, whatever,
Yeah.
it'd be better to have the 10 in the bank and budget it for it versus trying to scramble then out and put something
Right.
together.
But my understanding is that the raise will be 10%.
No.
That's not
No, the race depends on y'all. You decide, like we've always had in the past. I'll make that clear. I don't give myself a
Okay,
raise.
so
We have an
you
evaluation.
have the money in the budget, but not that we're giving you a 10%.
You have
It
to
stays
approve it
with
before
us till
vote.
we approve it, do
That's
something
gonna
with it.
be, I understand.
Yes.
You may not give a raise and that 10% just sits there. And in 2023-24, it just rolls over.
Because beginning
Or
salary,
goes back
they
into the
approve a
general
10%
fund.
increase in salary.
No, it's not increased. This is just to have the funds there in
In the
case
line
you
item.
do. Yeah, we may not get a cost of living. We may decide, mid-year, the city may decide to do a COLA. Me and Andy talked like this last year. I come present and say, this is what the city did. Would y'all like to follow suit? And you may agree, you may not want to follow suit. So the money just stays there.
So we don't have to follow suit
No.
with what the city
They're just recommendations.
does, recommendations and
But you know, it's better to have money appropriated and not needing to use it versus not having it appropriated and needing it.
But it just sounded like the previous board has approved some kind of salary of
No,
10%.
nobody has approved any salary. All these words, like standard
It's
here,
just money available in case that.
in case the board approves it.
All the line items.
And just so for clarification, we made that with Charlotte, where she's from October to October this last year. And I'm evaluated twice a year or as called on by the board per my contract. So you don't have to give me a raise at any evaluation, right? You don't have to give me merit pay at any evaluation. That's up to y'all as a board. But I do get evaluated twice a year, only.
But this is not due now, it's due today.
And I'm
Your
not-
evaluation is not due today.
Oh, yeah?
No,
You can give me a raise today, but you don't have to.
no, I can't, it's not.
Not on the agenda.
I'm joking.
So I'd like to address another subject, actually kind of where we started, is I'm still trying to make sure, one of my big concerns being on this board is making sure that everything is done by policy and by regulations and that. So I was reviewing the minutes, and so on May 25th, like you said, it was on the minutes to CNA to approve proposed budget for 22-23 presented by you. Motion by Randy Bruin to table and reschedule the proposal fiscal year 22-23 budget to May 31st. Okay, again, said seconded by David and then voted on 7-0. Okay, so then move to the 31st meetings minute, and I don't see anything on the minutes at all that talk about the budget. There is a motion, or a agenda item to approve cost of living allowance for full-time.
No, that's the agenda. At 5 o'clock, we had a special workshop. I don't have a clear.
So I've not seen those.
Yeah, so
That's what I was asking,
Yeah, I can I don't have a clean copy, but you're more than welcome to see. So that That was just a workshop. We didn't have minutes on the workshop.
Right, right.
It was just that the discussion was the numbers that we approved during that workshop, and the main thing they talked about, it was David had said the number of iPads and who has them, so we brought that in today. That was the main thing that was talked about, and all the numbers by the board we're okay with. So I passed them along to Cindy. Cindy was there at the, I don't know if she were at that workshop.
I don't know.
No, you weren't at that.
And
Yeah,
if I may just real quickly, Mr. Reed, I would ask that we please remain on target.
yes, okay.
And discuss the proposed fiscal year 2022-2023 budget.
So with that workshop discussion, so that's where we're at here. And so if y'all want to move down this budget, Cindy, I know you handled it.
Because the budget you have in front of you is for the past, what, 5 years? So I didn't know if y'all just want to go down and look and ask questions or ask Ben questions.
I have the
why
bullet
things
points
were
of the major
increased or-
changes as well.
Or what line
Work our way down
items pertain
in the
to
proposed
what they are.
23 budget.
Okay.
Cindy, can you
There's
just
one
go
right
right
here.
towards you and just start, like Mr. Member says, go through the whole.
Okay, that's what I'll do. So the major changes, just like the personnel, was the 10%, which, well, I don't know the percent, but it's a 15,000 increase in salaries in that budget. During this supplies and materials, pretty much everything has stayed the same. And then you'll see an increase in advertising and marketing, which we pulled aside when we helped do other things to put it back to its original advertising and marketing of the $50,000. And this 15% increase to address that as well was at the advice of the city to follow what they brought in. So Cindy proposed these numbers. We went over it in this April meet. We had a meet on April 28th with me, Charlotte, and Cindy to kind of make sure we're meeting all our numbers. The Christmas decoration, that's always a big thing. So we put $5,000 more in that Christmas decoration, and everything else stayed the same and was on task during that supplies and materials. The fuel, and the next one, building and maintenance. With the fuel, lube, and supplies stayed at the $4,000 for the fuel, and the supplies and lube at the $2,000. As we go to utilities, the biggest increase in that one was the utilities electric, because we decided as a board to vote on to take the electric boxes downtown as we pick up the Peanut Festival, and we don't charge them for those fees. Same thing as we pick up those fees when like Lion Club has the car show and have community events, or we just have those boxes downtown that the chamber no longer controls, and we control the boxes downtown to make sure we have money in there to pay that payment. The professional services and grants has that increase with EMC, and another 5,000 set in there for any type of other services or professional services we might utilize throughout the year. I know that one time we contracted people to come help stuff bags. We had a big event. We needed to put someone on an hourly for a day. We used that contracted services to pay out of there. I think it was for like National Night Out. We did that a few years back. And the contracted IT services, with everything has gone up, so we increased that one. And then, of course, you know, we all, with our funds with the facade and grants, we increased that back to the 50,000, where we've been working at the 40,000 this last year, to 50,000 from the previous year. The professional audit, and that's one that changes depending on how much stuff they look at or stuff they had. So I know our audit, that one fluctuates. So we put in 10,000, and then the Phelps maintenance and operation and the healthcare reimbursement, we didn't have any type of maintenance operation like we have to send out this last year to get the ACs worked on, or cutting the grass out at the buildings, you know, every 3, I think we're doing it like every 4 months right now, so a couple times a year just to maintain those facilities.
That's both properties, right?
That's both properties, yes, sir. The next page, just making sure I'm on track. I don't know if that Veterans Park's in there. We increased that Veterans Park next door, and then we added in the powwow.
It's on the other page.
Oh, it was on the first page, I'm sorry. Yeah, I skipped over that. The powwow was an increase that we haven't done before. set that as an event. And we may not have that event. You know, that's something we have to work with the city and the 4A on to pull that event off. But those funds are there, and if they're used, they are. If not, they'll sit there.
Quick question on the city parks maintenance, the 35,000, that seems a pretty good number, but are we actually, and that's quite a bit of work that they perform for the city parks. Are we paying 20,000 just for the Phelps property, or proposing 20,000 just to maintain those two properties? That seems like quite a bit.
Well, that's not just to cut the grass. I mean,
Don't you have electricity there?
yeah, we have electricity, we have water. If we decide to get the cameras up and going, which we don't have funds.
So that would be utilities, right?
Yeah,
Water
it's
would be-
everything to me.
But this is maintenance, the line item
I
is
put maintenance
maintenance.
and operations there,
Uh-huh.
just
Yeah.
because I didn't know.
I got you.
I put it for more transparency, to take it away, take it apart from the
We can
day-to-day
put it
of,
to-
yes.
Okay.
So you all would.
Perfect,
be able to
thank
see
you.
It's all
that.
lumped in, that's how Cindy
Okay,
did it.
good deal.
Good question.
That- You were at,
Anything else on page 2? Page 3, general accounting with the city, we pay 42. They do a lot of work, let us follow extra time, checks, running checks, so we had increased that to 6,000 this next year. And the other, city park maintenance, that's not to maintain the park, that's just what they call it. That's if we decide to do a project like a pecan park, you know, if we decide to do like Lodi, or if we decide to invest money into the skate park this next year, maybe go back to Lodi, or if we decide to invest money into the North Crest Park that Mr. Gonzalez has been talking about. Those funds are set aside there. Now, we can go over that with the vote of the board, but we'd have to pull that out of another account and add it to that line item. But that's just the general other city park maintenance. And we use it as maintenance, not as the terminology of cutting grass, but we had a maintenance report on maintaining the parks years ago at the ADC when we built the parks out at the sports complex. It had a maintenance through, I think it was M&S at the time, I was a board member at the time, so maintenance on how to bring parks up to code, ADA compliant. So when they were talking about when you build these parks, how do you go back and give care and love to your older parks? So that's what that maintenance is, giving that upgrade to the parks when you build a new park.
Mr. Reed, could those funds also be utilized? I know that we had a presentation recently regarding the rodeo arena.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember.
That I believe that's part of the sports complex park, right? So that could come out of that as well. Clean. But if we decide to spend money separately, we can always add in another line item budget and transfer it over, just for true transparency in the budget. Downtown sidewalks, we added that 10,000 in there because we've worked with Walker Engineering to replace all the lights during that construction project. Now we need to go down the side by the movie theater, and instead of patching them, cutting out the concrete and relaying them. I did tell the council the exact words that night. I do remember that we're not just going to go out and spend that money. We're going to work with the contractor first that installed it and see what he can do to help to get those lights up to par and working and the way they should look. And if not, that money's there to get that project done. But we're going to go that.
I believe, Madam Attorney, you were going to check to see if that was covered by their policy.
I have not looked at it yet, but I will after the night's
Okay.
meeting.
It
I'll
was a
check
city
and
project.
get back with you. So-
Okay.
So we'll work with the city and go that route. If not, we had that to make sure that that's something that we did an upgrade during that process, and it looks good. These are the numbers, and then you had that in these next three. We're going to be moved. Cindy, can you explain how they were going to be? You don't have the fund.
These are for the bond that you all took out for the Phelps renovations, depot renovations, and the hike and bike match. So if you'll notice on page 1, you'll see that there's a reserve balance draw. That's to make this a balanced budget. The reason for that draw, though, is you all received those funds this fiscal year. In governing accounting, funds do not go year over year, so the balance doesn't carry over. It goes into your reserve, which is your savings, your account. So that draw is for these projects. If they don't happen this fiscal year, then we don't do that draw. That draw is there just as a placeholder at the end of the fiscal year, depending how much more you spend than the sales tax you brought in. That's the actual reserve draw that I would do. So depending on what gets completed this next fiscal year. And again, those are just placeholders. I don't know how much items are actually, the renovations for Phelps, or if it's going to be, or you do with
It's
the
more
depot.
of the grant, grant money. We put it in the funds, then do it out as a draw.
So that's just the funds that you all had from the bond.
And so, moving on, if there's no questions with that, we added in the business loop project, so we could start that project. That's why that project is sitting there, because they have no funds tied to it to do the survey, engineering. We may want to put in an entrance to that property once approved, so we can move forward on that business park project. So we put $50,000 in that project this next year, which everyone was okay with. The signage, and that's where, the Lodi, hold on, downtown. Yeah, Floresville, I'm getting there, my hands are shaking, not shaking, just downtown building, signage, there we go. The signage project, that was $6,000, I'm sorry, for the business loop project, and then $50,000 for the signage project. That was to have matching funds to apply for that grant for the business park signage, so that when we are going as a stakeholder, we have funds to match towards those grants as we apply for them. Or maybe just spend, we could, depending on what y'all want to do the signage downtown and improve our downtown signage like you see in other towns such as New Braunfels or Seguin, where they have the arrows that say take a right to the movie theater, to Arcadia, take a left to Backdoor Cafe. And you have those signage to better show people around to downtown. And then website technology stayed the same. And then we added in the liability insurance went up, because that was the money that we had when we bought the building to pay for the insurance. We pay our part with TML that we reimburse the city, because it's covered under the city finance. And then so we pay our part to cover our buildings with insurance.
We've also been joined by Councilwoman Gloria Cantú.
And then in the next line, those are all our bonds that we pay and our debt service. Those are set. We do have the $50,000 also set aside, which we give that to the city, and Andy and his city council oversee the cutting of the fields at the sports complex. That's what that money is used for. And then on the last page, the big thing we increased at the industrial park that we own was the $10,000, because remember we had talked about the mailboxes are sending out letters to everyone because of the trash that's been accumulated on the side of the road. When we cut up there, that's a lot of the time, they have to spend a day just to pick up the trash, because there's 15. I think last time there was over 20-something bags from Skull cans to beer cans, so we can send out the proper signed letters to those business owners and fix the signage out there. That's one of the things that we've had people requesting, that we have one sign area for all the businesses to be on. So that's what those signs would be for, to do like a basic metal frame, and then to increase the safety of the mailboxes out there.
Then that park is like galvanizing plant
Yes, sir.
on the other side.
Yes, sir.
What's the 10,000 in contract services?
That's what that would be for, to pay for the contract services to do those upgrades.
Okay, so it's
No.
tied to the business park?
It's the sign, yeah, it's not the
From
industrial
Grande,
park. That whole budget on that last page,
Industrial Park.
that whole budget on the last page is just the budget for the expenditures at the Rancho Grande, at the top left-hand corner. Everything out there is for Rancho Grande Industrial Park.
Thank you.
We still have to maintain the roads out there. We have to set a plan for that here in the next few years. The previous board that built, the past boards that built that, didn't get those roads bonded and hand over to the county. So we maintain those roads. I send people out as they patch it. A couple of times we've been very lucky where the businesses that created the patch in the road fixed it, reached out to us and said, hey, my 18-wheeler dropped this, or the wheels dug down, and they just work with us on getting it fixed. And I make sure to give it the commissioner file out there, and it's fixed to the county specs and get those roads patched and fixed.
Refresh my memory, I remember the amount for the sport park maintenance. Now, we give that to the city. You decide how it's used, who uses it, or is that coordinated?
It actually goes into the sports complex fund, so it's 460, and it's mowing and for fertilizing of those fields.
And you, the city decides who does the work, how that money is
That's correct, sir.
spent?
When it was turned over to the city, then finance took it over for booking it, and then we'll move forward on the contractual end of that.
Yeah, they invoice us first thing in October, and then we'll cut them a check, and they keep it in their account and they handle that. So, from when we started these talks with Cindy and the city back in April 28th, to the board, and just wanted to, for Hannah and those that are new, Roy, you're back in Donald. I know the rest of y'all were in that workshop those days. That's what it wants to go with today.
Ben, can you clarify this total Rancho Grande business, Martin? I'm not understanding that because that's a different line item than contractual. It's the third number from the bottom on page 4. It says total Rancho Grande bus / Martin, $23,200. What is that?
Everything.
That's the sum of the.
It's everything added up.
That's all
the 22,000, then the 900 for utilities, and 300 for materials, all added up to 23,200.
Okay.
Those three.
So the department materials, utilities, and contractual, that's the 23.
That's the 2320, all added up together. That's the next one.
Mr. Chairman, if I may add a couple of things. I know that it's been difficult with the transition of your new board members to the existing one, and coming in midway or towards the end of our budget process. So I understand the questions. So I know that Cindy, as a finance director, has taken the lead in regards to working with your staff at the EDC. So my question to Cindy is, are you comfortable with the numbers that you presented here today?
Yes.
And you've worked through them on checking what revenues and expenditures you had this current fiscal year, and then major projections for next year, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And as we go, one of the things that we can tell the board from my office, and then Cindy's also, is that we are on our finances tremendously on a monthly basis. If not bi-monthly, we sit, we look, and we address the overages and shortages on anything that we've got. And we're very versed in what's going on in the economy right now, and very concerned, as several of the board members have spoken about. So, well, my presentation to the city council was that we will move cautiously this year, more so than any other year, to ensure that we are being good stewards of the finances for the city. We've made some tremendous advancements, and we don't want to lose any footing, so we're going to make sure that we stay on top of that as we move forward. Because we are concerned, and we want to make sure that we expense any funds the best that we can for our citizens.
And I'll make one comment as well. I've already had meetings with the department heads, Andy and I, just stressing that this next year is going to be different than the other 2 years I've been here, where we're not sure how quick the revenues are going to be coming in, like they have been. And so my job is to make sure we have enough revenue to cover our expenses, not we're spending and then we're going to catch up. No.
Never catch up.
They don't.
Never catch up.
No, right. They don't realize that on a daily basis, I'm running reports, making sure each fund is okay, and if it's not, what's happening, why. So I just made them aware that things could be different next fiscal year, and that I could be saying, you're gonna have to wait on that project till next month, or, till you get your sales tax, or that's right.
And as your contractual finance department for
She
the
stays on me
PC
too.
board, we are at your beck and call. When you need questions answered, we're here. We're very transparent with what we're doing, and I think that's why we've been able to make the advancements that we've had. So at any given time, any board member has to speak with the city about finances, please come to my office, and we'll set appointments with her and get you in line, because you are paying for a service that we provide, and as such, we will provide that for you.
Exactly.
We thank you both for that information.
No, and I just want to end it by just saying that I really am very thankful for the process and the changes, because it's been a different change for 3 years, and the way Cindy has had it on this going in the right direction for the city. I'm glad that we're in that same boat, right? So I'm excited to be in that boat with her, because just as she treats her city staff, she treats us as part of that as well, and stays on top of myself, because she's the expert in that. So, and Andy too, that's one of our biggest concerns. We talk about even a new business may come in the office today, we stay on top of what are the economy doing, what are the layoffs locally as well, so we can take care of our local businesses to the best of their abilities. So we're excited to be on this boat and move forward, and just thank you for all your help, because I know 4,200 last year wasn't indicative of what y'all did for the EDC, but thank you for all the extra help.
Anyone have any more questions?
No, just a statement, Cindy, thank you so much. We appreciate everything you do, and how transparent you are. And I can tell that you know the numbers, you just spit them right out when we ask a question, and thank you so much for that.
Does a great job. So at this point in time, if there are other questions, we cannot pass anything, but we can have a vote to recommend this to the city council. We went over it and approved it, but we don't approve it ourselves. We just do a recommendation. If someone would like to do that.
Move that we recommend the 2020-23 budget, fiscal year budget.
Motion by Randy, second by Roy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank everybody else. And it's going to be 5:41 over there, 5:45, we'll be adjourned.